Hey guys, I'm Yasna Vismale. I use she, her pronouns. I am Japanese, Afro-Trinidadian, and American. Um, I am a film composer, so if you don't know what that means, I make music for film, games, TV. And then I also am a content creator and the author of Work Your Net, which is a book that focuses on bridging the gaps within our networks, specifically, for people who may not historically be represented in a lot of spaces of high resources.
So how would you describe your art medium? If you want to go into composition, you can, or if you want to talk about a different art medium as well, go ahead. Feel free to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm very mission oriented. It's a lot of different mediums around centering stories of people who historically haven't been seen, especially within the Western media. The art form, first off, I guess when I was like 1 years old or 0 years old, I drew a lot. So, in terms of visual art, that was the first medium that I used in terms of painting and drawing. And, also growing up in a very artistic family, I was introduced to a lot of different kinds of world music from early on, as well as cooking, although I would probably not call my cooking an art. Currently in terms of the career that I'm building, I have built a career more around music, where a lot of the visual focused art that I do is more personal or, just a way to express myself without necessarily tying it to any financial means. My process for creating my music, I think you really have to put a lot of your music says a lot about who you are. And I think, by being able to combine all the life experiences that I have, everything I'm trying to learn about myself, my inner turmoils, my inner joys, it is a way that I'm able to express who I am in an abstract way. Because, I think, especially being Japanese, self-expression in public can be a little hard. So I do enjoy the lens of abstract art in general, where I can say exactly what I want to say, but you don't actually know what I'm saying. But hopefully it is able to evoke a certain emotion and feeling and experience that is able to showcase what we have in common as people, as human beings, as people who have a lot of different experiences and emotions.
I honestly really feel you on that, expression for those who don't have voices, it's just I really felt there has been not really many JA musical artists outside of maybe Hiroshima and because Hiroshima is a strictly JA or Japanese American artist our band, which is really awesome. And so I feel I think G Yamazawa, who's from North Carolina, is
oh, whoa.
Person. Yeah, he is one of my heroes, honestly.
Gotta check him out.
Yeah, definitely. So what made you want to pursue your art? Maybe more specifically music composition, and what do you aspire to accomplish with it?
What I hope to accomplish with my art, I hope to, I think, especially in the West, when it comes down to the way Asian music is represented, a lot of it is honestly based on people who are not Asian, people who are not Japanese, who are making music or making what they think Japanese people or Asian American people should sound like. And for me, when I hear it, I'm like, I don't feel represented by that music. Because oftentimes when you hear music that's supposed to sound Asian, they'll mix different instruments throughout Asia. They'll take a flute from India, they'll take the erhu, they'll take the taiko drums, and then also use a Western foundation to create that piece. So in terms of like from a creative artistic point, sure, fusion music is always interesting. And I believe that music, I don't believe in genres because I think they're limiting. But to say, oh, this is the sound of this community, I think is very disingenuous. So for me, I would like to create music that properly honors the history and the community and the culture, and properly highlights it and highlights our community in a way where people like us feel seen through the music. And I also, while my priority is more to center our stories, I hope in the process that other people who are not from that community can also see, oh, this is what Japanese music can sound like. And also it's really interesting, it's unique, and it takes a lot of time and energy and respect to be able to do art that is not from your culture as well. So I hope to also help challenge the ethics behind how we create art. There is no bad art. There's no good art either. Art is up for interpretation. There's art that's made in bad taste. There's art that, maybe attached to a person. It's hard to detach art from the person, I would say, for me personally. But, I do hope to create art that is truly genuine, authentic, respectful, and helps us become more empathetic towards ourselves and other communities.
I really like how you kind of went off on that, honestly. I like that. Because I hate to bring it back to hip-hop again, but honestly, that's what I freaking love. Yeah, obviously, being an outsider to the hip-hop culture, and like it is really truly a balancing act of being like tasteful and respectful, and like enjoying it to its full capacity, and like not exploiting it in a way, which I feel is one of the biggest no-nos that I always see in hip-hop.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love how you brought that point up. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, where would you say you draw inspiration from, and do you have any dream collabs, like any wild, and like if it's an individual or a group that you would like to work with, or organization?
Oh man, I think my dream collab would be Fujikaze. He's like my favorite artist, and he's just like, I love everything he makes. His piano covers, his original music, because I think he really is able to create a very tasteful, unique sound while also giving or paying homage to the music that he listens to. You can hear a lot of like the funk and the gospel and R&B music that he loves, and he's really taken the time to listen to. You can also hear, more of like the Japanese, like city pop, and even like the orchestral classical music in there too, as well as implementing like traditional Japanese folk instruments in there as well. So with that, and with his gorgeous voice, I would absolutely love to collaborate with him. Another artist that I deeply love is Willow Smith. I also love her too because, like Fujikaze, she's able to really, again, like challenge the bounds of what genres even mean, or what they're, because once you place a genre on these two people, you kind of limit who they are. Because if you're like, oh, Willow Smith is a great rock person, it's like, yes, absolutely, but let's not forget about her jazz influences. Let's not forget about her punk rock. And I think people who are just so true, like who really know who they are, and are very limitless in their music, but also really respectful, and you can tell they deeply care about music.
It's funny that you mentioned Willow Smith because I feel like she's kind of in like that Tyler the Creator camp of like, yeah, you can't put me in a box. Like
Yeah,
you say,
exactly.
like you mentioned multiple times, because like I remember being in high school and listening to Wolf and Goblin, and he was like, "I am not horrorcore."
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love Tyler the Creator too. He is an app artistically, like, he is truly such an inspiration because not only, is his music fire, the visuals to his music videos are stunning. He's such a great storyteller. He's a, visual artist as well in terms of like his fashion, and creative direction. So yeah, it is really cool to see people like that.
Okay, so actually going back to the first part of the question, where do you draw inspiration from, or like either culturally or like through experiences and whatnot?
Yeah, I think it was funny because I realized, so before I went to music school where I wasn't required to make music every day and, was on all these projects and stuff, I feel like I was most compelled to make music when I was really down in my bag. As just like a way of self-expression, but also I think as someone who just suppresses a lot, um, being feeling safe enough to like put, again, put all my personal feelings out there in an abstract way where I'm like, okay, you don't know what I'm saying, but like I can like really express what I'm feeling. So yeah, I mean, in terms of inspiration, I think just life experiences, inspirational or like interesting conversations that I had with different people throughout my life. I've been also able to travel to 20 20 countries and counting, throughout the world, and that's really shaped my world perspective as well as my understanding of who I am. Philosophy books. I studied religion back at Columbia, and that informed a lot of like understanding kind of like the human experience. So, I think for me, like, also exploring just like a lot of different genres where I'm like, okay, at first, I don't like rock, but then I'm like feeling a certain way. And I'm like, actually, I can understand why people like rock. Actually, I like this rock song. Or like at first, like, I don't like heavy metal. And it's like, okay, actually, when you're feeling like a rage and there's nothing else that can express yourself, this actually hits so hard. So understanding how all these different, I think also challenging myself, um, my mindset. Why do I think this way about a certain thing that I don't even know? Is it more just I just haven't experienced this? Is it more just I'm ignorant towards it? And I think just trying to, I guess, look at the world through an open lens, and hopefully in turn having my music, have an open lens. I guess luckily, like, the projects that I've been on are such a diverse range of projects of, just different people reaching out. And like that also really challenged, I think, my sound and what I enjoy. Because like, I remember this one girl, Black and Cambodian, and I want a sound that has like a Khmer and like, Black American sound. So I'm like, okay, like let's study, Khmer music. Let's study Chinese folk music. Let's study Brazilian soca, funk, all these different genres, and kind of learning and connecting. I guess the intention, of course, there's only so much that I know, as someone who is not everything and cannot truly, may not be as connected to a certain culture as someone from that culture, right? But I think just like expanding myself and expanding my mind constantly is, I guess, what helps influence and inspire me.
That's interesting. I've honestly never heard of, or I never met anyone who was of Black and Cambodian background. That's actually unique.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, it's so crazy how like I think of music similar to, like, culturally as similar to food, where you could give them the exact same instruments or food, you give them the exact same ingredients and just completely different dishes or completely different sounds that will come out of
Yeah.
that. And it's just
Yeah.
all based off like how people grew up, how they're raised, who they're around. It's insane.
That's the beauty of the human experience.
Yes, definitely is. Okay. Actually, you kind of touched up on this of back on the inspiration part, but one of the questions is, what do you like to express the most in your art? So if you want to delve more into that, you could go ahead and do that.
I think for me, I like to explore different kinds of complicated emotions. So kind of exploring the tension and release of different genres, different sounds. And I guess like in terms of like the sounds I usually, or the music that I usually make, it's within the lens of like bittersweet. Like I think, I guess like the music that, because that's more just like I think my general disposition to life, where I'd say I'm a pretty optimistic and happy person, but of course everyone has like this side where they can get really sad or really upset, and I think it's also the most realistic way to look at life, where life is not black or white. You're not just 100% happy all the time or 100% really depressed, or at least me. I can't speak on different people's mental health, but in general, like my life experiences are somewhere in the middle, but I think it's really fun to explore where that middle is, because it's I'd say it's not just like a graph like this. Like it's like a 4-dimensional graph that has all these different axes, and it's like, okay, well, which emotions are we actually exploring right here? And I think that's kind of like the fun of art, where it is so specific but also general that you can kind of like play around with a lot.
Yeah, I like how you described it, because it's like it's pretty much a great, like, emotions are a gradient. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't really say like it's like a genre too. Like you can't really say it's like, oh yeah, I'm happy. It was like, oh, okay, so like in what realm?
Exactly.
Okay, so how do you feel your Nikkei identity plays a role in your art? So pretty much like for your example, like being Japanese outside of Japan, like how do you feel that plays a role in when you do music composition?
I think probably, yeah, I guess like the emotions or the music that I do typically go for, because a lot of my influence and inspiration is also in terms of like film composing is Joe Hisashi, and also Sakamoto Ryuichi. And I think in terms of like the emotions, that actually, fun fact, last year or 2 years ago, I was Joe Hisashi's 0.01 top listener on Spotify, and then the year after that, I was Sakamoto Ryuichi's top 0.1% top listener. So I'm a big fan, and I am truly their number one fan. But in terms of like, I think the philosophy behind a lot of Japanese music, which is the bittersweet aspect, maybe like also like I don't think everything needs to be expressed in such a grand way. So like in terms of that, I would say like my music, if you're thinking about like a Hollywood big orchestral, like huge drums and stuff, that's not, I can do that sound, but I would not necessarily say that is my sound. I think it's very generally more like, this is how I'm feeling, but I'm going to just bring it down a little bit, and I think that is kind of like the general disposition of like what it means to be Japanese, right? Where you're kind of gamang. Just, you're maybe there's some points where you are able to express it, but there is still just kind of like a little control.
Okay, this will be the final question that we have, and this is a little like because we have one question that's like more unique to each artist that we interviewed, and so for yours is, what would you feel would be missing if you were to remove music from movies? Because I feel it's a very underrated aspect and underappreciated element, that like yeah, I honestly, well, I want to hear what you say, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely underrated and underappreciated. Luckily, there's getting, there's a little bit more exposure and hype around. Hey, remember that films aren't just visual. The whole experience comes from the music as well, which is able to really surround you. So I would honestly say it's like, how would I describe it? It's literally just like another layer of the film, and it gives it a different dimension, because I think music for film is able to either show able to, of course, all of it's going to support what's going to be on the screen, but it also is able to show what's not being said, what's not being seen, but what's being felt. So I mean, for me, maybe I'm just biased, but I do feel that music is truly the heart of the movie, where it's showing you kind of like, and it's also like subtle, it's abstract. You can't just see it. You have to really, it has to hit you. So yeah, I mean, I guess that would be my answer. I think music is kind of the heart of the movie. Of course, there are certain times where, if it's a bad movie, the visuals are bad, music can be bad too. But if it is a very well executed film, then it should serve as an extra layer of depth that allows for the film to go the extra mile.